How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, text donate to 33777. Forget about me right now. Text donate to 33777, and you can donate to Hungry for Days nationwide campaign to help families at Thanksgiving. $40 will provide a family of 4 with a turkey or ham with the sides and with desserts. They get the sweet potatoes, they get the pumpkin pie, they get the mac and cheese, the cornbread dressing, working with local food banks around the country. Text donate to 33777. I've got to begin with the shutdown and the shutdown politics. To you, Democrats, God bless you. I want to just talk to you for a moment because I know what you're going through, having supported multiple shutdowns, only to feel like my legs got cut out from under me with no good deal. There was one exception, sequestration, the debt ceiling fight back when Obama was president. Conservatives actually won, and then the Republicans have been selling out sequestration ever since. Sequestration was real world, at the time, meaningful cuts to the federal government. It cut across the board. It cut broad swaths. The defense industry didn't like it. Nobody liked it, but it was good and meaningful cuts. And then Republicans have been undermining it ever since. You want to understand why some of you get aggravated with Thomas Massie and his refusal to believe leadership? Thomas Massie went all in on sequestration only to watch the government, led by Republicans, sabotage sequestration. Rand Paul, same boat. So now we've got 8 Democrats who have decided to cut a deal with the GOP, and all the Democrats are furious. Let me read you headlines. Politico, Schumer no longer effective. Dems outraged over deal. New York Times, Democrats so angry one senator faces blowback from her daughter. MSNBC, as the Senate advances a plan to end the government shutdown, what happens? As reclined, what were Democrats thinking? Axios, Schumer privately fought to extend the government shutdown. Josh Marshall at Talking Points Memo, a quick take on Team Cave's big win. Axios, quote, it's complete BS. Democrats go ballistic over Senate shutdown. NBC News, Democrats rebel after 8 senators cut a deal to end the shutdown without Affordable Care Act funds. The Future Now and Then, a left-wing site, the shutdown surrender. Bernie Sanders on shutdown vote, a very bad night. And on it goes. Nate Silver at Silver Bulletin. Trump made a huge blunder on the shutdown. Why did Democrats cave anyway? Brian Butler at Off Message, 16 thoughts on the Dem shutdown cave. The Daily Beast, why these Vichy Dems and their spineless boss need to go now. It's hilarious. The Democrats are melting down. I know this because I've gone through these shutdowns, and let me explain to you what happened. So the Axios has a scoop. As Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer publicly battled Republicans over the government shutdown, he was privately cajoling a group of moderates not to fold before November. Democrats are blaming Schumer for not prolonging the shutdown. In reality, it could have been much shorter. 2 weeks into the shutdown, a group of moderates told Schumer they were ready to vote to open the government. It's unclear if that group was big enough to end the shutdown, but Schumer persuaded the moderates to hold off until the beginning of November, when open enrollment for the Affordable Care Act began. Schumer, in other words, dragged out the clock so you people couldn't even get a deal with the Republicans on health care. It's not a coincidence they are leaking this. Schumer internally, according to sources, said the concessions weren't enough. Schumer, of course, is fighting for his life. I don't think it's a coincidence this was leaked. Schumer needed it to leak. Schumer needed to look like the hero here. Look, last night I was on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and Jamie Raskin has leaked a whistleblower says that Ghislaine Maxwell is getting favorable treatment. Y'all, it's not a coincidence. As I said last night on CNN, it's not a coincidence that Jamie Raskin was able to leak this information out there to claim that Ghislaine Maxwell, according to a whistleblower, is getting preferential treatment in a federal prison because it's a way to rile up the base and get them distracted by Epstein. It's the same thing Republicans did when Joe Biden was president. The Republicans, when things didn't go their way, would say, Epstein, what's Biden covering? And now the Democrats are doing the same damn thing because they caved on the shutdown. And Raskin's like, don't look there, look here, Epstein. That's how bad it is for the Democrats. The Republicans have handled the Epstein stuff as well as the Democrats have handled the shutdown, I got to say. It's just wild to me. Now, here's what actually happened. I know this. Don't doubt me on this. I know this. I'm not going to give away sources, but I know. You have 8 Democrats who collaborated with the Republicans to reopen the government. It is not a coincidence that the 8 Democrats are either not running for re-election or they're not on the ballot in 2026. It is not a coincidence that Chuck Schumer decided to essentially throw them under the bus because Chuck Schumer has electoral problems next year. Angus King, who is an independent but sides with the Democrats from Maine, Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Jeanne Shaheen and Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Dick Durbin of Illinois, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Jackie Rosen of Nevada. None of them are up for re-election next year. Some of them are not running again. This is what always happens. You go look at the Gang of 8, Gang of 9, Gang of 12 plans that the Republicans and Democrats have concocted in the past. And what it is a group of senators who are either not running for re-election or they're not on the ballot in the next year. And they do these gang plans. The Gang of 8, the Gang of 7, the Gang of 9, the Gang of 12, the Gang of 10, you name it. It's them. It's what they do. So what happens is that the Democrats leak that the minority leader is unhappy. He's deeply unhappy. He wanted the shutdown to continue. Now, on the Republican side, typically it was Mitch McConnell saying we need to reopen the government, and the Republicans would hate on Mitch McConnell. The Democrats are hating on Chuck Schumer. Even the Democrats don't believe Chuck Schumer really wanted to keep the government closed, but he's got to pretend because Chuck Schumer's on the ballot next year. But these 8, they're safe. Do you really think shutdown politics is going to matter in 28 and in 2030 when some of these people are up? Some of them just got reelected. They're not on the ballot again until the year 2030. Do you think they care about the politics right now of the progressive movement? They want to get the government reopened. They want to get SNAP funds going. They want to get the air traffic controllers back on the job and the TSA agents back on the job and everybody else back on the job. They want to get soldiers and sailors, airmen and Marines paid. They don't care about the progressives. Just like the Republican leaders who've done this in the past to the Republicans, they don't care. They don't care about your progressive demands. And what they're doing now is they're trotting Jamie Raskin out there to say, hey, pay no attention to this. Pay attention to the Epstein stuff. Pay attention to our whistleblower. You know, remember when the Republicans were losing to Joe Biden, what did they do? A whistleblower says there was a cover-up to the cocaine in the White House. Get the Republicans fired up over whistleblower allegations. because there's no way for them to stop the Democrats, no way to stop Joe Biden at the time. And now it's the same way for the Democrats. There's no way to stop the Republicans. So let's scream whistleblower. Let's distract them with Epstein instead of Hunter Biden. And they'll reopen the government and get nothing. Now, I want to point something out here for you. If you've listened to me these past 40 some odd days, I've told you this is what would happen. It's not that I had insight, although I did. It's not that I had sources, although I do. It's that I knew this would play out because the only way for Republicans to have a shot next year is for the Democrats to have a civil war. The party that controls the White House tends to do poorly. The economy, contrary to the claims from the president, is not actually doing well right now. The voters themselves signaled on Tuesday that prices are still too high, the cost of living is still too much, and they now blame the Republicans. The only way for the Republicans to hurt the Democrats next year is to force the Democrats into a civil war where the moderates are put on defense by the progressives who Americans hate. The Republican strategy was always to hold out until the bitter end and make the Democrats cave, and they knew the Democrats would cave. They knew there were always the votes. What did I tell you at the very beginning of this? I told you to look for Gene Shaheen, and I told you to look for Dick Durbin, and I told you to look for John Fetterman, and I told you to look for a guy like Tim Kaine. I literally wrote that as the Democrats were threatening the shutdown to look to those members to reopen the government. I told you that the week of the shutdown, those were the names to look for. I told you the week of the shutdown that those were the pressure points. Why? Because some of them weren't going to run for re-election and some of them were going to be there for so long that they didn't care about the progressive politics of the day. If you've been listening to me, you've known the names of the people who are going to cut the deal far longer than anyone else in the country. And the reason I knew is because I know how to read the room. I know how to talk to senators privately. I know how the system works, and I know how the shutdowns always work. And I have known that the Republicans were badly, desperately in need of a fight within the Democratic Party, and the only way to manufacture the fight within the Democratic Party was for the Republicans to hold the line as long as it took until the Democrats finally broke and got nothing. Because if the Democrats broke and got nothing, it wouldn't matter in the general election of 2026, but it would really matter in the primaries of 2026 in the Democratic Party, and it would more likely than not drive the Democrats off the progressive edge, and many Democrats in primaries would get nominated who were too radical for the general election. That's been the Republican strategy the entire time, and if you're a listener of this program, well, guess what? Guess what? You knew before everybody else. I'm a mattress snob. I travel a lot. I want a good night's sleep in my own bed. I miss my mattress when I'm gone, and I discovered Brooklyn Bedding, and I love them. I was a little bit hesitant for an online mattress until I tried Brooklyn Bedding, because you get 120 nights to try it. And I wanted a mattress that wasn't just memory foam, feeling like I'm laying in mud. I wanted one with the support of the coils, and they are not only 100% fiberglass free, but they've got great sturdy coils for a firm mattress, a great night's sleep, and they offer a 120-night comfort trial. Love it, or they'll help you return it or swap it. Go to brooklynbedding.com, use promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K at checkout to get 30% off site-wide. Not available to anybody else. You got to use my code ERIC, brooklynbedding.com, promo code ERIC for 30% off site-wide. Support the show. Let them know we sent you after checkout with that promo code. It's brooklynbedding.com. The promo code is ERIC. Handcrafted mattresses in the United States of America, and they're fantastic. brooklynbedding.com. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here again, and I'm going to keep reminding you guys, please text the word donate to 33777. Here's what we're doing. I have for 5 years now, during this Thanksgiving season, partnered with a group called Hungry for a Day. They started in Atlanta, Georgia, and they have spread nationwide. And David Huey, who is the director of Hungry for a Day, he and I were chatting a couple of years ago, and as my show expanded around the nation, they've partnered with local relief groups in those areas, but more than just that. They've made sure, though, for example, those of you in Hartford, Connecticut, and those of you in Bridgeport, Connecticut, your local food pantries and soup kitchens, they're partnering with them. Those of you down in Palm Beach, Orlando, you name it, Kalispell, Montana as well. Now this year, Springfield, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Oklahoma City. We've done Tulsa, Austin, Paris, Texas, now Buffalo, New York, Watertown, New York, and Sacramento, across the country. Numbers in Oregon and in Washington State. As we've expanded, they've expanded. The Fayetteville, North Carolina area and Pinehurst. And here's what they do. If you text donate to 33777, you'll get an option to pay. You can give whatever you want. And seriously, if you can only give $5, give $5. It matters. It actually does matter. If you can give $40, just $40, you're going to feed a family of 4 for Thanksgiving. They're going to get a turkey or a ham. It depends on their family preference. They'll get the sides like sweet potatoes, mac and cheese. They'll get pie. They'll get dessert. They're going to get taken care of. Now, there are parts of the country that are heavily immigrant influenced in Texas. And actually, you know what, you guys up in Connecticut listening right now, you've got a couple of neighborhoods there that they partnered with food banks in the past. And we're told actually chicken is more common. The Hispanic communities don't really deal with turkeys, but chickens would be great. Hams as well up there. But in some parts of the country, they've given, instead of a Thanksgiving and stuffing and stuff like that, they've literally given chickens and flour tortillas or corn tortillas. So an immigrant family from south of the border that's here can also celebrate our American Thanksgiving, but incorporating food traditions that are going to be sure that they eat. In most places, though, from Alaska to Miami, Hungry for a Day gives turkeys or hams, mac and cheese, sweet potatoes, green beans. I mean, it kind of depends on what the preference is in the neighborhood. And then pies. In some places, pecan pie. In some places, pumpkin pie. In some places, sweet potato pie. But $40, you're going to feed a family of 4 somewhere in the country. $80 is going to feed 2 families of 4. I mean, and you can do the math from there. So $120, you're going to feed 3 families. Text the word donate to 33777, the word donate to 33777, and follow the link back. And let's all commit to feeding a family at Thanksgiving. And if you need the help this Thanksgiving, don't be afraid to reach out to your local food pantry, soup kitchen. They want to help you. We want to help you. With financial problems right now, Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash, and they would love for you to get their report completely free. All you have to do is reach out to Swiss America by calling or texting 800-289-2646. This all-out war on cash, it includes cryptocurrency. It's spreading daily. My brother-in-law yesterday, I mentioned yesterday, in Las Vegas, I went to a place and they wouldn't let me pay for cash. And he's like, what place were you at, Erickson? It's a pizza restaurant in Las Vegas. I wasn't allowed to pay cash. I had to use debit or credit. And the government's trying to control your spending. Swiss America wants to get you their report, The Secret War on Cash. Just mention my name, Eric, when you text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or call or text Eric to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the show. I am probably more relational with you guys than any other radio show host. And I am relational to you in ways that many people, including those who work with me, for me, and around me, oftentimes don't like that I overshare personal information. Like, for example, now I'm not allowed to tell you guys when I go to different restaurants and stuff like that. They got mad at me for saying I joined In Town Golf. You can't get to the front door there unless you're a member. And so I was fine with that, but I can't tell you, like when I went to Las Vegas, couldn't tell you what I was doing or anything until after it was over. They don't like when I overshare with you, and so they're not going to like that I tell you right now. I will be live with you in 15 minutes, but I'm not here right now. Christy woke up sick this morning. Her oncology visit is happening, so I drove her up to Atlanta. I am wrapping up the doctor's appointment right now, and I will be at my studio in the next 15 minutes. The appointment actually ended, but I can't tell you how it went yet because I had to get up really early this morning to record these first few segments of radio so that then I could get my wife to the doctor, and so I could sit with her. And then I got her a hotel room and am parking her at the hotel room. And I'll be with you live in a few minutes. And I know it makes everybody in radio mad, and I always feel a little dishonest when I'm got to do something like this. And I want you to know that I don't know if there's been some big, massive breaking news thing in the last 30 minutes, but I promise I'll get to it at the top of the hour if there is. But I want you to know, I will tell you as soon as I am live on the air how her scans went. I got home last night, y'all, though, and it was pitiful. She just has not gotten over this latest illness that she's had. And I was like, you're not going to be well enough to drive yourself to the hospital. I was going to drive up, go to the appointment. The appointment done like 11:45, and I could get to the studio on time other than probably recording the first segment. She wasn't feeling great. So I made the decision this morning. I'm going to go on, get you a hotel room, prepay for an early check-in. You go sit at the hotel. I'll get the first hour of my show done so we're not pressed for time. And so I'll be with you with the rest of the news here at the top of the hour. But right now, for those of you who are texting and saying, hey, how's your wife? You haven't mentioned it. That's actually why I haven't mentioned it yet is I don't know yet because I'm pre-recording this before the doctor's appointment, and I'll get to you after. But I do know something, and it goes back to what I was saying beforehand. The Democrats were never in a position to be able to win the government shutdown. They never were. And they were never in the position to win the government shutdown because the Republicans know they're going to lose next year simply by being the party in power. And by the way, there's a major story at Bill Pulte or whatever his name is, that White House staff are furious with him because of the 50-year mortgage idea. It was unvetted. The Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary think it's a terrible idea. All the financial people and the economists of the White House think it's a terrible idea. And the guy apparently was able to get access to the president, whispered in his ear, suggested it was a great idea, sold the president on the idea without vetting it through any of the policy people in the White House. And it is blown up in the White House's face. It's not just me who's critical of it and thinks it's a bad idea. Actually, a lot of aides to the president and others are very upset. White House officials are furious with Bill Pulte. Is it Pulte? I don't care. The Federal Housing Finance Agency director who talked to the president into suggesting a 50-year mortgage plan. The White House staff were blindsided by the idea, according to two people familiar with the situation, granted anonymity, and are now dealing with a furious backlash from conservatives, business leaders, and lawmakers. The guy arrived at Palm Beach with a roughly 3x5 poster board in hand. A graphic of former President Roosevelt appeared below 30-year mortgage and one with Trump below 50-year mortgage. And the headline was Great American Presidents. Less than 10 minutes later, the president proposed it on Truth Social. Almost immediately, aides were fielding angry phone calls from those who thought the idea was both bad politics and bad policy. Conservative influencers, Laura Loomer, Mike Chernovich, Chris Rufo, Sean Davis, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they all blasted the idea. Pulte seemed to acknowledge the criticism, posting that a 50-year mortgage is just one piece of a wide arsenal of solutions. An FHFA spokesperson told Politico that the inflation under former President Joe Biden destroyed the housing market. This isn't the first time Pulte's political proposals and policy proposals have caused headaches. He also wanted to take Fannie and Freddie out of government conservatorship. I actually like that idea, but nonetheless, he also did the fraud allegations against Lisa Cook that have largely blown up in the Republicans' faces. This guy, I don't know what's going on here, but see, this is why the Republicans had to win the shutdown fight, because of stuff like this. You see, they don't have ideas. Sean Davis, old friend of mine at the Federalist, had a tweet, and I got to agree with Sean. The Daily Beast mischaracterized it somehow as some sort of major blow up against the White House. And it wasn't that at all. It was simply someone who knows politics, Sean Davis, suggesting that they need a change in direction on public policy at the White House. There actually are real issues that are deeply frustrating people, including economic issues, and a 15-year car loan. And I got to say, I thought the 15-year car loan thing was an internet rumor. It turns out to be real. A 15-year car loan and a 50-year mortgage are bad ideas. And the fact that this guy was able to convince the president to push those out on social media was terrible. People need real solutions to the cost of living. They need wages to come up if prices aren't going to go down. The president has committed himself to tariffs in a way that I think is unhelpful. So they got to come up with something. And one of the things Republicans wish to do, if you will go back to 2022, you will recall that a lot of Hispanic voters moved to the right because they did not want to embrace socialism, and they felt that the Democrats were over embracing socialism. And there's a strategy there. So let's look at this, and you actually can go back to 2018 and 2022, both midterm elections. Hispanic voters who voted Republican in large part because they did not like the left-wing drift of the Democratic Party and the embrace of socialism. It was there in the exit polling in both years. In 2022, it grew tremendously as the Democratic Party was openly talking about socialism and saying favorable things about socialism. Hispanic voters, many of whom have fled socialist regimes in Central and South America, voted Republican. And in 2024, even more of them voted Republican. Well, what's happened in 26? Because of the cost of living, Democrats would say immigration. That's not really true. It's more the cost of living and economic issues. These voters feel like the GOP has abandoned them. They don't want to vote socialist, but they don't want to vote for Republicans who they now blame for driving up the cost of living. Well, Republicans holding out on a government shutdown, forcing the Democrats to cave, sparking a civil war among the Democrats that in primaries potentially pushes that party further left towards an all-out embrace of socialism after they've elected Mamdani in New York, that could drive Hispanic voters back to the GOP, and not just Hispanic voters. A large section of the middle class, a large section of non-white voters, they don't want socialism. They don't want it. So Republicans sparking the Civil War was the only way they were ever going to have a leg up in the midterms. They knew it going into this. And the Democrats walked right into it. The Democrats, when Republicans shut down the government, they always had a consistent message. And they may not have always agreed, but the message was the same. In this case, some of the Democrats said they were fighting to defund ICE. Some of the Democrats were fighting to defund Trump. Some of the Democrats were fighting authoritarianism. Some of them were fighting for health care benefits. Some of them were just fighting for the sake of fighting because somebody's got to fight Trump. They didn't have a unified message on this. They lacked a leadership voice. It was conservatives who were always driving the message when Republicans shut down the government, and it was always to get rid of some big government program. Now the Democrats wanted to shut down the government to fund a program, so they wanted to starve the government of funds in order to fund the government. It was always nonsensical, and yet that's where the Democrats were. And the Republicans could take advantage of it. Let's just be real honest here. Democrats are not good at government shutdowns because Democrats want the government. So it was always absurd to think the Democrats could win a fight to shut down the government against a party that's okay with smaller government. I mean, that never made sense here. The Republicans are okay with smaller government. You're suddenly going to allow the Republicans to fire people and reduce the size of government and not have it in our lives? Okay. The Republicans never had an incentive to cave. Had more Democrats listened to me in this program, they would have known that. And also, they had to do the clean continuing resolution because it barely passed the House of Representatives. The Democrats didn't want to vote for it because they thought it was funding Hitler. The conservatives didn't want to vote for it because it's funding Joe Biden's budget. Remember, this continuing resolution is actually built around Joe Biden's budget. As a result, it took a lot of arm twisting to get the Republicans. If the Republicans changed it at all in the House, it could have failed. In fact, much of the deal that these Democrats have gotten, these 8 Democrats have gotten, are just promises of votes. The Republicans can't commit to the reforms because the Republicans don't have the votes for the reforms. It was always simply a promise to allow a vote to come up. That's it. I don't know when people got so bad at politics. Like I was saying on TV last night, everybody's bad at politics. You know, Scotty under promised and over delivered. She was giving it all he's got, Captain. He always kept the Enterprise running. Yeah, I'm talking about Scotty from Star Trek. You know, the Scotsman engineer. He always under-promised and over-delivered. And we've got the anti-Scotties in Washington, D.C. They over-promise and they under-deliver. They don't give the engines even half of what they've got. They don't even try. It's just stupid politics. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Let's talk about Hunter Biden. Forget about the cost of living. Forget about inflation. Forget about going after the Republicans for a 50-year mortgage. I mean, the Republicans were ripe for an attack today, and instead they went back to Epstein because they've lost. They have lost the shutdown fight. They're on defense. They're going to open themselves up to a massive civil war now. And it was also predictable. I not only predicted it on this program, I named the names of the senators who would eventually cave. And I did that as it happened. It was always so obvious. I'm surprised John Ossoff of Georgia was not a participant in ending the shutdown. It tells you how scared of progressives John Ossoff is. And I guess, honestly, being a Jewish member of the United States Senate, John Ossoff is a little more worried of where progressives stand these days, given their anti-Semitism. He's had to be on their side, even on matters of Israel, to show he's unlike they accuse a lot of Republicans of being bought and paid for by Israel. He can say, no, he's not. He stood up on that. But he also stood up on not paying federal employees. That's what progressives wanted. He gave progressives what they wanted. And I got to think that's not in line with where the voters are in Georgia. You've got the National Weather Service there. You've got major air traffic control there. You've got major military operations there. And John Ossoff came out for not paying any of those people and for keeping the government closed down because he was too scared of where progressives might land on him in a primary and potentially primarying John Ossoff. It's not a healthy party, the Democratic Party. The Republican Party isn't healthy either. At least Republicans are having the conversation about anti-Semitism. The Democrats just embraced it. But now the Democrats are going to go even further left because they fell for the Republican trap of shutting down the government without a plan to ever get it back open, which allowed the moderates to work with the Republicans and do what was inevitable. Welcome back. A serious note here. Today is Veterans Day in the United States. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent in Europe, ending World War I. It's a testament to how bloody and awful the American Civil War is that the rest of the world, particularly the European powers after World War I, set as a memorial the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, timed to coincide with the treaty that brought to an end World War I. And Americans already had Memorial Day. So many dead in fields across this country. And now so many dead in the trenches across Europe. Have you ever been to Europe, to France, and the like, you can still to this day see some of the trenches. Not from World War II, but from World War I. You can still see trenches. It scarred the landscape. World War II compounded it. The war to end all wars provoked the Second World War. Today, Europeans remember, by tradition, of course, the British wear poppies. Flanders Field is the poem, and it became famous. European nations, once enemies, gather together for almost religious service, in some cases actual religious service, to commemorate what happened. In this country, we honor our veterans today. We honor our veterans today, though, not because we don't want to honor our veterans, but because we killed so many of each other in the 1800s. We already had a day set aside to remember our war dead. And so now we remember those who did not die, our veterans. And I want to thank all of you who are veterans for your service to this country. And I have to tell you, I am appalled by the political leadership of this country across the board for the horror stories that I hear about the Veterans Administration, the VA, and all the problems that happen. We have so many men and women who serve this country faithfully, who have issues related to active duty service on the front lines, and they have horrible health care in the VA. They wait a very long time, and they are not appreciated as they should be. And I am very sorry for that. And maybe one day we will recognize as a nation that we need to do more for our veterans. I actually want to spend a little time on this topic when we come back on honoring our veterans and putting all of this in perspective. There's a lot to be said about all of this. First, I need to tell you about Vision Computers. Vision Computers can build you a computer that will work really, really well. It makes it very upgradable. So as your computer gets out of date, you can upgrade the parts. You don't have to get a brand new machine, which will save you money. They are wonderful people, and you get their tech support for free. They're world-class tech support where you can call them, and in 15 seconds or less, you get the answer to your questions. It's not just that, though. This is what really sets Vision apart and makes it so remarkable, is their managed IT service doesn't use chatbots and AI. It uses human beings. They've invested in people because your business invests in people, and you want your people to be really good at their jobs. Vision Computers can actually be really good at taking care of your computers so your employees can be good at their jobs instead of having to be micromanagement IT service departments for your company. Every employee will get the phone number in 15 seconds or less. Vision gets on the phone, again, 15 seconds or less, and takes care of them. They can even remote in if they need to in many cases. They can help with email, printer support. Give them a call today at 404-COMPUTE, 404-COMPUTE, or go to visioncomputers.com. Tell them I sent you. You might be able to save some money, but give them a call today at 404-COMPUTE, and let's see if Vision can take care of your home situation, those are your loved ones, or your office.